When I say e-commerce, what do you think of? I am what they might call a millennial or Generation X. The problem is I was born right between the two. Why does this matter? Well, Generation X were born before the technology boom, right? But Generation, or the millennials, were born in it. They were born with it. They were what we would start to call the digital natives. I was born in 81, right? So those years between like 77, 78, and like 83 is where we come up with a new term, maybe the Xennials or the Zennials, right? So we were born and grew up in an age without the technology, but we were young enough when the technology came about that we can easily integrate it and accept it. And so, what's the new face of e-commerce today? Things such as Uber, Airbnb. I tried to explain the fact of Uber to my parents, and they just couldn't fathom the idea that when I was growing up, when they were kids, like you never got into a car with a stranger. And yet here, we're doing it on a daily basis. We're calling people to say, hey, can I hitch a ride with you? Or Airbnb, let me stay over at your place for the weekend. I have a timeshare, and my weeks that I don't use, I use Airbnb to rent it out, make a little extra money. And it's amazing how ingrained in a part of our lives technology, information, apps, e-commerce really is. So it's crazy to think that just 20 years ago, e-commerce didn't exist as we know it today. Right? 20 years ago was just the beginning. There's a rapid growth and change. Yahoo just came out in like 97, 96, right? And they saw this huge expansion, this huge growth. Right? Yahoo, AOL, these were online portals, right? They took you to a new place, a new world. And they were evolving at an exponential pace. I mean, by 2000, in the year 2000, I think Yahoo turned down like a huge, $20 million deal from Google to buy them out or some other company. Right? And by 2002 or 2001, they're valued at $104 billion. It was staggering how much they were worth. Right? And they're disruptive technologies. They're disruptive to the current ways of doing business. And they create new opportunities. Right? If we think about Yahoo back at the time, they were this huge online portal. But they did mail, they did search, they did shopping, they did instant messaging, they had chat, they had these group features. But what happened? eBay came up, specialized in those online sales, right? We had MySpace and then Facebook come up. We had Google come up for the searches. We had newspaper coming online for their news engines, right? So why do we even study e-commerce? Because it's to understand the opportunities and risks involved in doing business online, right? It's to analyze e-commerce ideas, models, and issues. I wonder if any of you actually use PSECU. PSECU is a bank, but they pride themselves on thinking themselves as an e-business, right? They use an e-business model based around Amazon's business model, right? Providing these online services. They don't put money into these brick and mortar stores. They put money into developing web apps, right? And online apps and mobile apps. You can use your phone to take a picture of a check, deposit your check instantly, right? You can check your FICO score, your credit scores, and you can pay bills online now. This is e-business. Right, it's the use of internet to transact business. So it includes the use of web, browsers, and apps, right? More formally, it's digitally enabled commercial transactions between and among organizations and individuals. So, what's the difference between e-commerce and e-business? E-business is just the digital enabling of transactions, right, and processes within the firm. It involves information systems under the firm's control, right? These are not the actual commercial transactions involving the exchange of value across organizational boundaries. That is e-commerce, right? But underlying building blocks of e-business, right? It's the internet, the World Wide Web. Right? It's HTML. It's the deep web versus the surface web, right? Where 90% of the web is actually is invisible to the average user because they won't access it. It's the mobile platforms such as mobile apps. It's social media. So what are the current trends in e-commerce? Right, business trends, right? All e-commerce shows growth. All. Right? Technology, because it's constantly improving, it's constantly growing larger. Mobile platforming has become a reality, right? Mobile e-commerce. You're getting people that are older getting phones, people that are younger getting phones. My 7-year-old daughter, right? She plays field hockey and other sports, and I drop her off at fields, I pick her up later, and she has a phone, so she can call me and say, hey, I'm done with practice, or you need to pick me up, or I need to come here. It enables us to communicate. It also enables her to request apps from me so she gets set up. I have a phone from my parents now, right? They're in their late 70s, and my dad's always emailing me and say, hey, can you purchase this on Amazon for me, or can you get this, or I saw this. And so more people are using it. It's a growing market, especially as we grow into new markets, say, such as Africa, or parts of Asia, or parts of Europe, or even parts of the US that aren't routinely covered by cell service, right? And there's increased online interaction and sharing. We're just so used to it today. People post on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. It's all instantaneous gratification today for individuals. What's unique about e-commerce today is because of its ubiquity, right? Global reach, but information asymmetry, right? Menu costs, marketplaces, market spaces, transaction costs, cognitive energy, market entry costs, search costs, price discovery, network externalities, right? These are all concepts and terminology that make e-commerce what it is today. Now, the types of e-commerce, there's quite a few types. We talk about B2C, B2B. You might have heard these terms before. B2C is simply business to consumer. It's a business selling to a consumer, right? Uncommon goods. They have these products, it's a company, and they sell to consumers. Now, there's also business to business, which is Granger. You don't hear a lot about this, but this is actually the largest market space of all of these. Right? There's also consumer to consumer, Etsy, right? A friend of mine makes fly fishing lures, and he sells consumer to consumer. He just makes them in his basement and sells them actually to the majority of the population in Germany for some odd reason. And he ships them out, and that's his business, and he makes decent money doing that. There's mobile e-commerce, right? There's social e-commerce, such as like Groupon or local e-commerce, right? So, but to really see it here, right, the growth of B2C e-commerce in the U.S., it's growing, right? It's tripling or doubling each year. Although B2C e-commerce, right, in the U.S. has slowed in around 2008 and 2009. You can see that right here, right? That was due to the economic recession. It resumed growing at about 13% in 2010, and since then, it has continued to grow at double-digit rates, right? But look at this, B2B e-commerce. So we're looking at B2C, right? Revenue in billions, right? So almost $1 trillion by year 2020. This is already in the trillions, right? B2B e-commerce started at around $1 trillion back into the year 2000. It's huge. B2B e-commerce is 10 times larger than B2C e-commerce. Right? And by 2020, it's expected to hit over $9 trillion in annual commerce transactions. Now, what about m-commerce, right? Mobile commerce, right? This increased astronomically as well, from just $32.8 billion back in 2012 to an expected $198 or $200 billion, right? By 2016. It's anticipated that will continue to grow at double-digit rates, right? Because consumers are becoming more accustomed to using mobile devices to purchase products and services. I mean, how often do I actually go on to my Amazon app, right? I need something, I'll just click it on there. I have a dash button in my home, right? You know what the dash button is? It's a button linked to my house's Wi-Fi for a particular product. I have 2 of them, right? And they were free, but the one's linked for toilet paper, and the other one's linked for my laundry detergent. So I can actually go down there. If I'm running low on laundry detergent, I can push the button. It automatically notifies Amazon. They send the order out. I get it next day or 2 days, free shipping, and I have laundry detergent. Right? I buy my dog food online. Right? They ship it to my door. The shipping is free, and that means I don't have to go to the store and buy, say, 150 pounds of dog food for the month. I do have 3 large dogs, and it's a lot of food. I'm tired of carrying it, so I'll let the delivery person carry it. right? It's growing exponentially. But where did it start, right? It started out originally with older like entry systems, right? You just type in a data recording system or a management system online. Baxter Healthcare modern-based systems, right? They used to track patient information, to order things online, right? And they used what we call EDI standards, right? Electronic Data Interchange Standards. But by around 1995, right, a little over 20 years ago, was where it started to really take off, right? It was a sale of simple retail goods online. The problem was we had limited bandwidth. Back in that time, we were still mainly using dial-up connections, right? You would hear the pinging of the modem going through, and if you had the 14.4 or the 28.8 kilobytes per second, nothing like the megabits or gigabytes per second we have today, right? But it was a euphoric vision of like friction-free commerce, right? And they had the first mover advantage because they got out first, right? They're the ones easiest out the door, quickest out the door. Now, some of these we have to think about is like with Yahoo, right? Yahoo was the first one out the door, but what happened to them? They got eclipsed by other brands, other companies that were more specific. And then the dot-com crash in the year 2000, right? Things just plummeted. So after that, 2001, 2006, we call it consolidation, right? Business different approaches, traditional large firms expanding their presence, right? These startup financing shrinks, right? There's not as much money for these new startups, right? More complex products, the growth of the search engine advertising, Google, and then from then on to pretty much the present is the reinvention of the web, right? The reinvention of e-commerce. Web 2.0, right? Everything's online, including social networks. You can have your refrigerator connected to the web, right? You can look up menus right in your refrigerator. You can tell you like, hey, I need to order more milk. I do my grocery shopping online through Peapod. It's delivered to my door. There's local e-commerce. There's on-demand service economy. So here's a little graphic of it, right? But you can see what this is. The crash happened, and then 2007 was a smartphone, and then this little plateau here, right? That was the recession, and then it's picked up since then. So there's three main themes of e-commerce, right? There's technology, there's business, and society. So technology is just the development and mastery of digital computing, communication technology, right? So technology is becoming available. We talk about Moore's Law, right? Computing doubles every year. And for what you get for $1,000 one year, it'll be twice next year. It'll be twice that the next year. It's exponential, right? If we think about, if you ever ask the question, would you work for a penny and I'll double it every day? Well, after 28 days, you'd be immensely wealthy. You'd be a millionaire, right? Just because the compounding aspect of it. Where we talk about interest or investing, we compound your money, right? If you invest at 10%, your money will double in 7 years. So if you invest $5,000 now, it will double in 7 years. So in 7 years, your $5,000 will be $10,000. In 14 years, your $5,000 will be $20,000. In 21 years, your $5,000 will be $20,000. And then in 28 years, your $5,000 will be $40,000. We keep going. Right, 35 years, your $5,000 will be $80,000. So how long does an average person work? Say you work for 35 years, you invest $5,000 now, and you have $80,000 later. That sounds pretty good to me. Right? There's also business, right? New technologies present new businesses with new ways of organizing production and transacting business. I mean, businesses didn't exist 10 years ago that exist today, right? HelloFresh, providing fresh food to your door. There's Etsy, there's numerous businesses that didn't exist in society, right? Intellectual property, individual privacy, right? Public welfare policy. It's crazy to think that, like, we just went on vacation, but we didn't post anything to Facebook. They were asking, why didn't you post anything to Facebook? Because we're like, we don't want people to know we weren't at home. It's things, such simple things as that. You can also look at Google, right? Google just, in Europe, they're going through the issue because people have the right to be forgotten in Europe now. So you can actually petition these web search engine companies to delete your information or not make them come up available in search. And so there's a lot of technology and academic disciplines concerned with technology, right? Concerned with e-business. And they can find the technological, like the computer science, management science, information systems, but there's also the behavioral, right? Information systems research, economics, marketing, management, finance and accounting, sociology, consumer behavior. This is why e-commerce is such a complex field, because it's incorporating all these different things. So lastly, what we'll leave with here is just the internet and the evolution of corporate computing, right? For those nuts out there, we started with mainframe computers, right? Back in the early 50s, right, to 75. We had mini computers coming out. These are the towers. We had the personal computers from 80 to the present. Even personal computers going by the wayside, right? Because even we're going towards our laptops or tablets. The iPad now is a keyboard, which can, and a Bluetooth mouse, I believe. We started getting to LAN, right? Local area networks or client-server computing. Enterprise-wide computing, where you can go into a company and all the computers are networked together. And then about 1995 really is when the internet and the mobile web really, cloud computing just took off. And cloud computing is its own beast into itself, right? You can use Google Cloud Services or Microsoft has cloud services now, and just all the different ways companies are trying to get you to do business with them.